So he walked away. So Neil walked away, and what's his problem? His absence has become this thread that connects everything. Maybe can make a documentary about this.
I'm still not exactly sure what Glenn is filming.
Part of the, narrative structure that I'm working with on my documentary is really, what's and
He was like under this tree and I came out. I don't know if I came out of like the lunch place or something, but anyway, I saw him. I was like, hi, what are you doing? Nothing's going on. I just want to go up to him and be like, hello, hi, I'm here. What are you filming? What are you doing? You want me to like do a dance? No. He's trying something.
Instead of trying to document one's existence in something, he tries to document someone's absence. That could be interesting.
what force will bring these things together? Well, I'm happy to announce now at this point, what connects these? How are we going to get all these things together? Well,
when I met Neil, it was quite an interesting experience, really. I was just out in my local town. I'm up in the north of Ireland, very high up in Ireland, in a town called Buncrana. And Buncrana has more pubs than people. In one of those pubs, and I'd see a fella sitting down with a Guinness. And if you have a Guinness in this pub, you either love your Guinness a little too much or you're a tourist because you don't know where to get the good Guinness. And I was looking across from the bar, seeing this man with a Guinness, went over, had to make a little comment on it. And of course, it was Neil.
In case we can't get Neil back in the organizing seat, perhaps we can design something that's so cool that he's like, hey, I need to go come and check this out.
I was one of the first people cut out of the blue. A festival this large, we run from April to November. We're the third largest festival in Canada, and the season was just gone.
And the night was just passing through. We began to realize, we had a lot in common. And that's when Neil started to talk to me about a project that he had worked on called Grenadine, and saying that he was thinking of maybe doing some sort of audiobook experience for it. And that's kind of where I jumped in. I was like, hey, you're looking at getting someone for doing an audiobook. I'm getting into this stuff.
We're taking the bits, we're reaching out into the particulate to form these waves. And
this is my community. My daughter has grown up here with the festival. She was in the summer camp. She was in the youth program. She was cast as Emily in our town this year. Neil was going to direct it.
I'm not really sure what happened and why he felt the need to abandon that. What's really kind of sad and kind of funny is that I think right now he needs that small, caring community more than ever.
He has about as much of a clue as what's going on as I do. Hopefully this works better with these earbuds. If it doesn't, what you gonna do? I'm still kind of fighting, still trying to get this project done, still trying to fulfill the clear vision that was once had.
Everything is in a whirlwind, right? Either I let the problems sort themselves out or you have a hand in helping them. And I'm the type of person, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't the type of person to try and step in. You know what I mean?
When he was just directing a show, he was so full of joy and focused. But I think all of a sudden he felt this like responsibility. I think that it just became too much for him, that he couldn't do it and that he was then going to like let people down. And he wouldn't, he wouldn't.
He came up with the idea, not just an audiobook, but a visual piece as well, where there'd be drawings and sketches to go along with it. I knew these drawings were going to take a very long time, so I didn't want to start bugging Neil. But as a good few months went by, I was eventually saying to myself, I'd really like to see what type of drawings Neil is actually doing for this. Not only do I just want to see the drawings that Neil has done, I just want to hear something back.
I mean, Neil could probably just arrive in New Delhi. We have a direct flight with Canada now, so it's quite easy to get here now. I mean, he seems like totally the kind of guy, who would be like, hey, I'm going to see you. And he's just there and he's alive.
So I ended up doing a little bit of Googling on Neil, and I heard about this Canadian festival.
We have a destination. It's as yet unnamed, but we have a point on a map. And anytime we have 2 points, we have the possibility of a line.
When I found out that Neil was the interim AD, I came up with this pitch. I thought, let's start with something manageable. We can't do an entire season. That's okay. We can do our town and use that as the starting point to rebuild this in Neil's vision.
Perhaps a crooked line like the river, but we're not there yet.
Yes, I'm biased. I want my daughter to be in our town, but our town is also the perfect choice because it's about community. This is exactly what Neil is trying to build. So I sat down and I put together a pitch, and I was ready to give it to Neil, and then Neil's gone.
I was very, very angry when I first heard that. And then I tried to come up with kind of a rationale.
Art is like one of the most primal human instincts. And to be a person who works to make sure that people in general can learn to get in touch with that primal instinct that is creating art, communicating things creatively with other people, I think that's an important position to fill. Ultimately, that's why I'm still here. If we did an interview tomorrow, my answer may change.
We worked on this project, Neil. We'd done this massive project together that I was really excited to see the conclusion on.
He was trying to make a universal theater which can reach everybody. But then here comes the question, if in a universal theater, what kind of stories can you put on? And are those stories still relatable? Like we live our life, and what is daily life really? It's like sometimes we get sick, sometimes we are not feeling well, and we get upset over something super tiny, super small, and we are trapped in trivia all the time. And that's life.
He was my mentor and he'd help me with practical things, but he always had this dream. What can we do next? And what can we do that helps people and make our art the way we want to see it? And that dream was what was driving him. And that dream was what was driving me.
I mean, even though I don't know exactly how we're doing this, I still have a great faith in the idea of community and hearing their voices.
Not everything is meant to be a success, especially not in the world of theater and art.
Yesterday, Glenn and I actually went out. I forget the name of the town. It's like 1 over from Cremant. We're in this park. There are these people actually having a picnic, and I'm like, oh. We walk up, Glenn's behind me with the camera. I'm like, hi. They were like, what are you doing here?
If we had more of these situations where you take a big risk and over the course of the project, people start to see that risk isn't panning out, it's really tough. But the flip side to that is you take a big risk, you have some struggles along the way, but in those struggles, the people working on the project start to kind of grow in a way and figure out new ways to do things they weren't capable of before.
Sometimes you don't need a realist in the room. You need someone who's a bit of a dreamer, like let's do something.
All of a sudden, I decided, there's a cord attached to the camera thing. So I start pulling on it, reeling him in. Glenn is kind of like, what the fuck are you doing? But I was like, just, go with it. And then honestly, a few other people started coming forward. So I think we're going to go out tomorrow and try something else.
From meeting him, I could really tell the passion that he had for everything he did. And that's when I stopped feeling pissed and actually began to feel concerned, right? Because a man who has so much passion for what he does and loves talking to people and finding out different perspectives and creating stories.
Having him leave the festival, it was like the dream was broken.
He's always looking for, or he's always trying to create a kind of transcending experience. He's the one who always looks up at the sky, at the stars.
There was a lot of nerves involved with doing the Grenadine project. I didn't know if I was doing a good job, and Neil was super accommodating in that, in guiding me through to making me feel comfortable enough to the point where I felt like I did a good job.
We're going to do Our Town, and I was playing Mrs. Gibbs. Neil's directing. There's this part where in Act 3, and this is what really gets me because it's such a great moment for an actor, even when you're a kid, not even a kid, but in conservatory or whatever, and you're like, I want to do this role of Mrs. Gibbs basically for this moment. George, my son, he's come to the cemetery to be with Emily. He basically just like, at her grave falls to her feet. I mean, as the audience, you see Emily standing there and she turns to Mrs. Gibbs, my character, and says, "They don't understand, do they?" And I just have to reply to her, "No, dear, they don't understand."
If you don't have that sense of grounded in reality of what are the steps I can take to get there, you end up with all these half-finished things and nothing can get done and you're overwhelmed.
You can't be annoyed at him because you know the type of person that he is, and he's not doing all these favors and helping you out because he views them as him doing you a favor. He's doing them because this is what he loves to do. So if he's pulling away from all of this, that means something has happened.
Getting on and making things stick together in some kind of sequence that unfolds.
Maybe what he's doing is not that different after all, because the stars are also part of our daily life.
There's a line in our town where Emily says, "I'm going to make speeches all my life." And it occurred to me that's what Neil wants. He wants people to be heard, to build this global community. So why isn't he letting us do it?
When Neil first reached out to me, like we didn't know each other, but Neil was, patient enough to just reach out. Let's talk about things. What kind of theater are we making? And it was quite refreshing.
I want to see the finished Grenadine project. I want to see the fruits of our labor. I want to see him go back to this Canadian Theatre Festival.
The actor playing Emily, she's just 18 and this was going to be her first major role.
I want to keep fighting so that she has that chance. And I don't know what to do.
I also just was thinking to myself, is this something that even happened? Because it was many months ago now about this one insane night where I had a good few drinks. Like, it was just so out of the blue, so out of nowhere. I was beginning to wonder to myself, like, can anyone else point to me and tell me that this actually happened?
If it should be the case when
After some time had passed, about another couple of weeks, I get a letter through the door, which, first of all, I'm sorry, but who sends letters anymore? All right, this guy named Glenn Stillar sending me a letter out of the blue. I should have responded to him with a falcon. I should have got a bald eagle, attached my letter to it, and send it back across.
Don't you hear the bell ringing? I think that means the round's done, and 1/1 gives 1.
I open it up, as I said, it's from this guy, Glenn Stillar, and he says to me something I never thought I'd hear through a letter of all things. We need to talk about Neil. Scene 1.